Number 1.
David was taken from his family's residence on 13th Street in Newport News, Virginia under false pretenses on December 11, 1980. His abductor called herself Marie Kelly and told David's mother, Vanessa Blockett, that the State Department of Social Services, DSS, was sponsoring a function for children at Riverside Regional Medical Center. The woman convinced Vanessa to let her take David and his 2-year-old brother, Frederick, to the party. Later that afternoon, Frederick was found wandering alone at a shopping center near Old Mallory Road in Hampton, Virginia. He had a piece of paper in his pocket with his name and address on it, and the police returned him to his mother. There was no indication of David's whereabouts, however, and he has never been seen again. That same day, however, a woman believed to be the abductor called David's mother at home and asked her what sort of formula the baby was taking. The person hung up before police could trace the call. Several days after David's abduction, authorities found a diaper bag and a leather folder near a parkway in Yorktown, Virginia. They believed the items belonged to the abductor. The abductor is described as African American and 32 to 35 years old, with a medium complexion and large hips. She was approximately 5'4" to 5'8" tall and 145 to 155 pounds. A sketch of her is posted with this case summary. She has never been identified. The DSS didn't employ a social worker matching Kelly's name or description, and there was no Christmas party for children at the Riverside Regional Medical Center. Authorities believe whoever took David may have gotten his name and address from the local newspaper, which provided a listing of recent births 3 days before he was taken. Around the same time as David was kidnapped, a person posing as social worker approached another family with a newborn. The mother of that baby told the person to go away. In a stunning coincidence, 2 of David's nephews were abducted in June 2011, over 30 years after his own kidnapping. The boys were the sons of his younger brother, Dante, and were 5 and 6 years old at the time. Their mother, Yvanda Denise Benefield, had taken them to work with her when a stranger, Summer Pannell, asked for a ride to North Carolina. Benefield agreed and told Pannell to take her car and take the children to the park and watch them until she finished her shift. Instead, Pannell and the children disappeared. All 3 were found unharmed in Halifax, North Carolina hours later, and Pannell was charged with abduction. She has a long history of mental illness, and in January 2012, she was found not guilty of the kidnapping by reason of insanity. Vanessa died of an aneurysm in 1997, at the age of 35. Frederick now lives in North Carolina. As an adult, he could vaguely recall the abduction and stated that there was a man driving the car, and neither the driver nor Marie Kelly would look at the children. He remembers the couple dropping him off in Hampton. Investigators still have the diaper bag, which contained David's booties, his blanket, a sweater and a pair of jeans. There was also a comb with some hair stuck to it. They hope to be able to test the items for DNA. David's case remains unsolved.
Number 2.
Barnes was last seen hiking near the 6000 block of the right fork of Sardine Creek Road in the area around the House of Mystery in Gold Hill, Oregon on September 1, 2002. She had gone hiking that day with her sister. They separated to look for aluminum cans. They were supposed to rendezvous at Barnes' sister's car, but Barnes never showed up and has never been seen again. Barnes had been reported missing before when she got lost while hiking, but was found safe and was angry at her family for sending out a search party. As a result, this time her family waited 30 hours before informing the authorities. Barnes may have been spotted on the day of her disappearance by a man who said she told him she was going back to her sister's car. Another witness might have seen Barnes at the Valley of Rogue State Park. Tracker dogs traced her scent to the off-ramp of North Interstate 5. Police believe she walked down Sardine Creek Road to the highway. 2 residents of the neighborhood reported having seen her. None of these sightings have been confirmed. A week after Barnes disappeared, a man in Gold Hill found the bronze ski pole she used as a walking stick. He has passed a polygraph and is not considered a suspect in her case. Barnes resided in the 100 block of Brookside Boulevard in Merlin, Oregon, at the time of her disappearance. She is an experienced hiker and an ex-Marine who served in Vietnam. Her family does not believe she left of her own accord, and they think she may have been abducted, but little evidence is available as to her fate.
Number 3.
Ayla was last seen when her father, Justin DiPietro, put her to bed at her home on Violette Avenue in Waterville, Maine at 8 p.m. on December 16, 2011. She apparently vanished during the night and has never been seen again. Her father called the police at 8:50 the next morning. DiPietro, his sister, his girlfriend and the women's 2 children were at the residence all night, the night Ayla disappeared. Authorities maintain the baby's father has not been cooperative with the investigation, and they believe the adults who were in the home that night are withholding information. Investigators found Ayla's blood in the multiple places in DiPietro's home, including her first-floor bedroom and his basement bedroom, which is where he slept that night with his girlfriend and her child. His sister and his sister's child slept on the first floor. Ayla's mother, Trista Reynolds, was in a 10-day substance abuse treatment program when her daughter disappeared. The day before Ayla went missing, Trista had filed for sole custody. Ayla had been placed with her father by the Maine Department of Health and Human Services (DHHS) 2 months prior to her disappearance. DiPietro did not know about Trista's custody bid. Photos of Trista and DiPietro are posted with this case summary. In April 2012, police found some unspecified items of interest behind the Hathaway Creative Center in the Kennebec River, about a mile from DiPietro's home. May 2012, nearly 6 months after Ayla vanished, authorities publicly stated they believed she was dead but did not believe she had been abducted. Ayla was declared legally dead in 2017. The court recorded that she had died around the time she was reported missing. In December 2018, 7 years after her disappearance, Trista filed a wrongful death suit against DiPietro. Although the suit seeks unspecified monetary damages, she stated the real goal of it was to get answers as to what happened to Ayla and to recover her body. DiPietro maintained his innocence in his daughter's case and stated he has no idea where she is. He didn't respond to the wrongful death suit until May 2019. Before then, his whereabouts had been unknown. In his response to Trista's filing, DiPietro said he was innocent of any wrongdoing in Ayla's disappearance and the blood in his house was from one time when she was sick. No one has been named as a suspect in Ayla's disappearance. Her case remains unsolved.
Number 4.
Danielle resided in Pensacola, Florida in 2001. She attended Tate High School and was a member of the cheerleading squad. She was popular at school in 2001 and enjoyed dancing and rowing. Her loved ones told investigators that she had friends who may have had a negative influence on her behavior at the time. Danielle was last seen at a party Robert Louis Bassett Jr.'s residence on Cedar Tree Lane in Cantonment, Florida. The witnesses left the party that night, leaving Danielle behind with Bassett. Bassett, who was in his mid-20s at the time, allegedly threatened another individual after Danielle vanished. Investigators stated that the other male told officers that Bassett saw Danielle on September 30 and provided Bassett's contact information to law enforcement. Bassett allegedly stalked the individual for several days afterwards. He was arrested sometime after Danielle disappeared, but no charges have been filed against anyone in connection with her case. Authorities searched Bassett's residence after his arrest, but officials declined to publicly announce if any evidence was taken from the scene. Witnesses said that Danielle visited a park on the corner of Escambia Avenue and Lakewood Avenue in Cantonment on September 30, 2001. The area where she was seen is near Bassett's house. Prior to her disappearance, Danielle had been in a relationship with Alfredo Gomez Sanchez Jr. A photograph of Sanchez is posted with this case summary. He was later convicted of lewd and lascivious behavior and molestation in connection with his sexual activity with Danielle before she disappeared. In the summer of 2007, Sanchez was charged with lying to investigators about his whereabouts at the time she disappeared. He had told authorities he was with his female cousin at the time Danielle went missing, and he had not seen Danielle for 2 or 3 weeks prior to his disappearance. Sanchez's cousin initially backed up his story, but later she recanted and said he had not been with her. Sanchez has not been implicated in Danielle's disappearance, however. Danielle's disappearance remains classified a runaway, but foul play is now suspected in her case. She may have traveled to Panama City, Florida, New Orleans, Louisiana, or the state of Alabama. There is also a possibility that Danielle remained in the Pensacola area after her disappearance. Some agencies may list September 28, 2001 as the date of Danielle's disappearance. Her case remains unsolved.
Number 5.
Teresa's father, Francis Walsh, had sole custody of her in 1990. Her mother, Merle Marie Vanderheiden, was not permitted to conduct unsupervised visits with Teresa until she submitted to a psychological evaluation. Francis and Merle met in Maryland in 1979 and married in 1980. They were both assigned to U.S. Army intelligence units at the time. The couple eventually relocated to Hawaii with their daughter. Francis said that the marriage was troubled and he moved out of the family's home in 1987. Merle apparently accused Francis of sexually abusing Therese some time afterwards. Authorities investigated Merle's claims and found that there was no evidence to support the allegations. Merle eventually moved back to the U.S. mainland while Francis and Therese remained in Hawaii. She made regular phone calls to Therese in 1990 while she was not permitted unsupervised visitations with the child. Therese was enrolled at a daycare center in Kailua, Hawaii on June 22, 1990. Her teacher noticed a woman wearing dark sunglasses and a hat near the grounds while the students filed back into the center after recess ended. The teacher realized that Therese had disappeared after her classmates took their seats in their room. Authorities believe that Merle was the woman spotted on the center's property and that she abducted her daughter from the grounds. A felony interference with custody warrant for Merle's arrest was issued on July 26, 1990. She has yet to be captured and Therese's whereabouts remain unknown. Photos of Merle are posted with this case summary. Her date of birth is August 5, 1950, making her 39 years old at the time of Therese's abduction. She's described as Caucasian, 5'5" to 5'7" and 120 to 145 pounds, with brown hair and green eyes. Merle wears eyeglasses or contact lenses, and her ears are pierced. She may wear wigs to disguise her identity. She may use the aliases Marie Walsh, Cara Vanderheiden, Jacqueline Smith, Van Vanderheiden, Pat Doherty, Mary Jean Ham, Cara Johnson and/or Cara Cochran. Merle has access to firearms and is considered dangerous. She has the abilities to evade authorities due to her intelligence training. She has been cited throughout the years in Alabama, Florida, Louisiana, Colorado and Texas. She may be employed in a hospital, as a social worker or as a forest ranger. Some people believe that Merle was aided in Therese's abduction by Children of the Underground, a controversial organization founded by Faye Yeager. The group assists parents and their children who want to disappear due to alleged abuse and otherwise. Yeager claims to have assisted Emily Sawyer and her mother in their flight, also. Francis helped found the Hawaii State Clearinghouse on missing children after his daughter's abduction. He died in 1998. Therese's case remains unsolved.
Number 6.
Susan left her 12-year-old son in the care of her estranged husband, Mark Walsh, during the morning hours of July 16, 1996. Susan and Mark lived in the same apartment complex on Washington Street in Nutley, New Jersey at the time. Susan told Mark she would return in half an hour and left all of her personal belongings in her residence, including her pager and wallet. She did not divulge where she was headed. Some accounts state she was going to use a payphone less than a block from the apartment. She has never been seen again. Susan was a freelance journalist in 1996 and was enrolled in a master's degree program in writing at New York University. She had been employed as an exotic dancer occasionally since her college days to finance her education. Susan began drinking heavily and using drugs while enrolled in William Patterson College in the 1980s but became sober by the time she graduated in 1984. She married Mark and had her son by 1988. She returned to dancing for financial reasons after her marriage began to deteriorate in the early 1990s. Susan's career as a journalist was faltering at the time. She earned an internship at the New York City newspaper The Village Voice and began researching the sex industry through her club connections for an article. Susan covered a story involving Russian organized crime figures allegedly forcing young Russian women to dance in clubs in New York City in the early 1990s. She earned critical praise for her work but became paranoid after the article's publication. Friends stated she believed she was being stalked by organized crime members and was quite fearful. Susan moved on to cover the vampire club fad in New York City as her next story. She reportedly became entranced with the subculture and dated a man who claimed he was an actual vampire. She wrote another article for The Village Voice regarding the vampire club movement, but the editors refused to run the piece. Friends said that Susan's writings became clouded by her own opinions regarding the vampire lifestyle, and the story was not objective. Jill Morley, a documentary filmmaker and friend of Susan's, produced a film in 1996 entitled Stripped. The movie revolved around exotic dancers and featured an interview with Susan. Susan said that her opinions about dancing had changed since she initially joined the profession in the mid-1980s. Susan said that she was enthralled with the money and lifestyle in the beginning of her stripping career, but had quickly become disenchanted with the job and began to detest the patrons and the profession. According to Morley, Susan often stopped taking medications to treat her bipolar disorder in 1996. Morley stated that Susan occasionally took Xanax, a powerful prescription anti-anxiety drug, to achieve highs around the same time. Susan did the primary research for the book Red Light. Inside the Sex Industry by James Ridgway and Sylvia Platsky in June 1996. Ridgway said that he became concerned about Susan's health when he saw her at the publisher's party later the same month. Her wrists were apparently bandaged, and Ridgway questioned Susan's drug and alcohol usage. She told him that she was fine and would seek help if she needed it. While her journalism career was heading in the right direction, Susan returned to dancing full-time by the summer of 1996. Morley stated that Susan seemed to be having many personal problems at the time, but everyone assumed she would pull herself together. The circumstances surrounding Susan's disappearance are unclear. It is not known if she chose to vanish of her own accord. Friends and family said she would never have left her son of her own will. Morley questioned Russian dancers in New York area clubs about a possible link between Susan's disappearance and the article she wrote about the Russian crime families earlier in the 1990s, but little more than speculation was uncovered. Many of Susan's peers in the exotic dancing industry believe she was the target of an organized crime hit, but there is no evidence to support this theory. Susan's case remains open and unsolved.
Number 7.
Bump was last seen in the New York City borough of Staten Island on April 9, 1993. She worked as a home health care aide and was leaving a patient's residence at the time of her disappearance. Bump's patient told authorities that he witnessed two unidentified Caucasian men summoning her across the street as she exited the home. Bump has never been heard from again. Her 1986 Pontiac Grand Prix was discovered abandoned several blocks from the patient's residence on April 14, 1993, 5 days after she disappeared. Authorities said that the vehicle had been wiped clean of fingerprints by the time it was located. There was no sign of her at the scene. Bump had previously lived with her sister Linda, who was married to convicted automobile thief Charles Chorman. A photo of Chorman is posted with this case summary. He was released from prison in December 1992, 5 months before Bump disappeared. Chorman initially assisted with the police investigation into his sister-in-law's disappearance. It was rumored that he and Bump were having an affair at the time she vanished, but that has never been proven. Authorities began to re-examine Chorman's possible role in Bump's case in 1998 when Chorman's girlfriend suddenly vanished from New York City. Anna Marie Savetti was romantically involved with Chorman in the mid to late 1990s while he was still wed to Bump's sister. Chorman had been arrested for abusing Savetti in 1997. Savetti's family believes she met with foul play. There has been no sign of her since 1998. Authorities have not arrested anyone in connection with either Bump or Savetti's disappearances. Chorman has refused to cooperate with investigators, and there is no evidence of foul play in either case. Both cases remain open and unsolved.